He'd rather talk
Can I talk about a film that I'm quite charmed by?
We can just squeeze it in before our next chippy guest, yes.
Right, okay, Hunky, Dory, which is the new film by Marc Evans, who made House of America, Resurrection Man, which I really, really like, My Little Lie, which is a spectacularly nasty little horror film, which I'm very fond of, Trauma, which is the film that I saw with the reels in the wrong order whilst watching it with James King. James King came out afterwards and said, I didn't understand that. I said, oh, for heaven's sake, it had an elliptical time structure. What? An elliptical time structure, a non-linear. It turned out the reels were in the wrong order, so nobody looked a bigger fool than me. Snowcake and most recently Patagonia. So the story with
which he came in for
Patagonia, yeah, which I like very much. In fact, which I chose as one of the missing gems of last year because it wasn't very widely seen, but I thought it was rather charming. And I have to say, I have a fondness for Marc Evans films. One of the reasons being that he seems to me to make films that are likeable films, even though he made My Little Lie, which is fantastically nasty. There is something about his filmmaking that I like. Story is, it's 1976, film setting was, I think it's in Swansea. A school teacher is attempting to get the kids who are sort of Grange Hill type kids, they're sort of, some of them rebellious, some of them don't want to do this, some want to do that, to get together the end of term production of The Tempest, okay? They're not very interested in doing Shakespeare, so somehow she has worked in songs of David Bowie and his ilk. So it's a kind of, if you try and imagine this, it's Fame with a bit of Glee in Swansea in 1976, but with 15 certificates swearing. Okay, here's a clip. This is Minnie Driver.
Where is everyone?
It's Friday. Well, Stella said she'd be here.
Well, she's not, is she?
Miss, I've got to go to training.
What?
Rugby, miss. I got trials coming up.
Oh, can't you wait a bit longer?
No, miss, I promised.
All right, then go away. I need you on Monday.
What about me, miss? It's Friday, I got a date.
That's very funny.
Oh, miss, it's not a joke.
Oh, come on, let's try it again. Now, I want you to make it very specific and remember the quavers. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
It's a girl for small affair, to the girl with the mousy hair, but her mummy is yelling no, and her daddy has told her to go.
Now,
he's got a good voice.
Yeah, I know. In that clip is summed up exactly probably what I like about the film and what some won't like about it. And it does have the certification issue that because of strong language, meaning, use of the F word, it is a 15 certificate film, which will actually exclude some of the people to whom I think it might well play. And it comes down to that question that we dealt with ad infinitum with Made in Dagenham. Is it, do you adjust the language so that people talk as they would do in school and get a 15 certificate, or do you do the Grange Hill thing, which is that there's a lot of Blimey Charlies and it gets a 12 certificate? Myself, I actually think in this particular case it would have been a smart move to have gone for the Blimey Charlies and get the 12 certificate, because the film has it's very much something. It's very good of spirit. I mean, essentially there aren't any major surprises in it. Each of the characters is wrestling with personal problems. One of them's wondering about their sexuality. One of them's wondering about issues of loyalty. It's all against this very, very nostalgic and actually rather well-observed nostalgic backdrop of this particular, time and place. And if you grew up in the 1970s, as I did, and you love those tunes, you think, oh, blimey, hearing a school band have a bash at those tunes is going to be ghastly. And then you hear, you heard what they did with Life on Mars. It is what was strangely charming, wasn't it?
It was rather good.
And, in fact, during the course of it, the musical numbers won me over. And for all the things that are, clearly fanciful and I was won over by it. And I should say again that I do think there is something about Marc Evans' filmmaking. Here's I think, the key to it. Every now and then you see a filmmaker who you think genuinely cares about his characters and genuinely likes the subject matter that he's dealing. There's nothing cynical about Marc Evans' filmmaking, even when he's making a film as nasty as My Little Lie. There's nothing cynical about it. I still think he's the guy who got the performance out of Colin Firth that gave us the nod that Colin Firth was going to end up doing something as good as The King's Speech. And in fact, I've heard Colin Firth acknowledge Marc Evans' role in
It's funny because I heard him do that as he did it in the studio.
Yeah, no, I know, but the fact is I'm just saying it because it is important. That's not just some fantastical invention by me. Colin Firth, who now is widely regarded as, the great Colin Firth, the great actor. That the depth of performance that he gave in King's Speech was spotted by Marc Evans. Marc Evans does a brilliant job with the young cast in this film. I mean, Minnie Driver is actually pretty good as the as the idealistic teacher who's trying to get this performance of the Tempest on, and failing to get it to pull it all together. But suddenly in the end the let's get the show on here thing. I mean, actually, in the back of all this, there's even a bit of Bugsy Malone, which I suppose is the thing about why when it's a 15 certificate. That's. I mean, I know why they've done it as it is. They've made the film as the film wanted to be made, and therefore that has provided a certification problem. But I think that the thing with him is that he does genuinely care about his characters. He's got very good performances out of the young cast. There is a sprightliness and a goodness of heart about this film. And on a musical level, I thought it was really... And of course, he does have a history of making music documentaries and music films, and that really, really shines through. Yes, the school bands sound better than some school bands would do, but it does look like they're actually playing the instruments, and it does look like they're actually making that noise, and it doesn't look like what usually happens in these things, which is that, a kid with an acoustic guitar and somebody with a, Casio synth suddenly sound like they were produced by the team from ZTT. I did think you could be sitting in that hall hearing them doing that version of Life on Mars and thinking, that's actually pretty good. I liked it.
Here's the thing, as I haven't seen the film, but as someone who was a school child during the 70s...
As were we both.
The big debates in our class, we didn't have too many girls, it being a boys' school. If we'd been in a girls' school, it would be Osmonds versus David Cassidy.
Yeah.
Can't like both.
So is it Slade versus T-Rex?
Slade versus T-Rex, Mark Bolan. And now here's the thing.
Yeah.
But the biggest and most fierce argument that we had...
Yeah.
There was one particular individual in our class who hated Shawaddy Waddy, and the reason he...
The Shawaddy Waddy?
Yes, he hated... but because he said that the greatest band of the 70s was Sha-Na-Na.
Oh, well, Sha-Na-Na work. I saw Sha-Na-Na play live.
So, now here's a band that is never ever discussed. So I just wanted to put a word in for Sha-Na-Na as being at the heart of a lot of the 70s arguments about music.
It is absolutely true that compared to Sha-Na-Na, Shiwaddy Waddy were... I mean, compared to anything, Shiwaddy Waddy were plastic Teds of the highest order. For a start, Dave Bartram had a centre parting and long hair and, occasionally was known to wear flares, and all of these things are utterly unforgivable. That said, I did see Shiwaddy Waddy on stage in the Isle of Man at the Lido in 1976, it probably was, and they were a damn good stage show, and they did leap around and then some.
As were Mud. I saw Mud's Christmas show. They did a great performance as well. But Sha-Na-Na should be...
Sha-Na-Na were a proper band. There was nothing plastic, Ted, about Sha-Na-Na. Sha-Na-Na were the band, if you actually like that kind of... they were very, very good.
It's been at least 20 minutes...